Electricity, water, gas. They may all seem like innocuous, ubiquitous elements of modern life, but new tech, think of AI now, has always arrived in society along with new fears. So, let's shock, drown out, and blow up some movie history today. Greetings, Cine Coven, and welcome to the Silver Nitrate Witches movie review brew. I'm Laura Valenza, and I'm here to take you back to 1944 when MGM released Gaslight, directed by George Cukor and starring Ingrid Bergman as Paula and Charles Boyer as Gregory. Also, the maid is played by Angela Lansbury in her debut role. She would later become known for the 80s and 90s TV show Murder, She Wrote. If you're not familiar with George Cukor, he directed other classics such as The Philadelphia Story, My Fair Lady, and A Star is Born, not the Bradley Cooper one. Set at the turn of the century, Gaslight's plot revolves around Boyer's Gregory manipulating his wife Paula into believing she's losing her mind in order to cut her off from the world and steal her family fortune and her murdered aunt's jewels, which he is convinced are hidden in the attic of the house Paula inherited after Gregory murdered her aunt. While many of us are still familiar with Bergman's iconic roles as a saintly romantic heroine, that word saintly could provoke a whole other sleeping draft episode, but anyway, Boyer might be less familiar. Known for his earlier roles as the romantic hero, his abusive character in Gaslight might have really shocked viewers at the time, although nowadays he comes across as pretty sleazy to those of us unused to his usual type. So, what tips our cast off to the gaslighting at play? The way the gaslights flicker on the floor below while Boyer moves through the attic above, of course. Cukor stages the dimming lights perfectly. When it first starts happening in the movie, it's so subtle, I actually thought my own vision was troubled. But it was just Cukor brilliantly bringing us into Paula's own experience of being told she's imagining things and losing her mind. And in case you're wondering, this story, or rather its stage play source material, was the origin of the term gaslight, as in to deceive someone into believing something is not true, usually in a way that undermines their own ability to even recognize truth. You've probably heard or used the term a lot lately. Merriam-Webster associates it with the rise of new phrases such as deep fake or fake news. The personal is political after all, and during Trump 2.0, the politics of the day is deception. According to the Venerable Dictionary, quote, its increasing use in many contexts contributed to making gaslighting Merriam-Webster's word of the year for 2022, end quote. But back to our movie. The Brits actually adapted this play first in 1940 with Diana Wynyard and Anton Walbrook. But in 1944, the MGM Gaslight would have been a novelty to Americans. MGM made sure their British competition didn't hop over the pond, at least not until 1952. Actually, they even tried to make sure all copies of the 1940 British adaptation were destroyed, and that it never made it to the United States at all. You can find it streaming now. Gaslight entered Hollywood history during World War II, and in some ways really encapsulates that era of filmmaking that was linked to the rise of the woman's film and the Gothic romance or film noir. While the men fought a war abroad and Rosie the Riveter reigned at home, more movies were made about women for women. Other movies with similar Gothic or noir themes from this time include Laura, my personal fave, and no, I'm not biased. And then there's Experiment Perilous, kind of a Gaslight ripoff with less sophistication. We also have Mildred Pierce and our literary classics like Rebecca or Jane Eyre. And there's also Undercurrent, featuring a delightfully tomboyish Katharine Hepburn, and so many more. So, what makes a movie a gothic romance? I would say the overarching motifs of the genre have to do with the tying together of sex and violence and how that threatens the domestic sphere or the home. The thematic concerns are clearly established through jokes in the opening scenes of both the British 1940 and the American 1944 Gaslights. In the 1944 MGM version, an older woman plays a sort of busybody type for the purpose of comic relief and to disrupt the interior domestic sphere that has trapped Bergman's Paula. The busybody is introduced while reading a gothic romance novel, and in reaction to some event in the book, she makes a sound that can really only be described as orgasmic. In 1940, the British version took an equally funny but far more sinister approach to almost the same joke, this time making the connection between sex and violence unmistakable. We open with a shot of the strangler's disembodied hand right before the aunt's murder. The framing of shots to create a sense of disembodiment recurs throughout Gaslight, and disembodiment can work two ways here. On the one hand, LOL pun, as a means of sexual objectification, and on the other hand, teehee, as a suggestion of violence, as in dismemberment. The use of reflection in the scene and later in the film also creates disembodied shots of the characters. But during this opening scene, a drunken man, which also gestures towards the sexual element of the Gothic, drunkenness being associated with promiscuity, according to film critic Molly Haskell. So this drunken man walks by on the street and hears the aunt choking for air while being strangled to death, and he laughs as if he is hearing someone getting laid. So we already have sex and violence closely associated with each other from the beginning of Gaslight. Both versions of Gaslight emphasize new technology infiltrating the home, aka the domestic sphere, aka the woman's private domain, as opposed to the man's public sphere. And this infiltration comes in the form of utilities, like the water being turned on or the gas lights flickering. And this trope pervades other Gothic romances of the time, too. Experiment Perilous features both a crisis with water and with gas inside the home. It's interesting that, from the Foucault perspective, gas lamps are associated with illuminating the streets and reducing crime. Yet it's used in this film as a source of horror, making it a symbol of how something that should be safe and trustworthy, like your husband, is not dependable. He's actually a murderer. As you may have picked up on, this often historical genre disrupts timelines, using older technology and the intense and oft confused gender roles of an earlier time period to heighten the drama of contemporary social politics. Although Hollywood was interested in a female future for like 5 years before an ultra-conservative backlash, to read these films as unequivocally feminist wouldn't be totally accurate. In pursuit of financial gain, did the film camera itself become an invisible form of technology, invading the home and participating in the gaslighting? I find myself eager to think about a movie like Gaslight these days, when we're shocked by the trickery of AI, drowning in the psychological turmoil of social media, and blowing truth to bits as if it were a beautiful home in a gas explosion. Was that just me, or did the lights just flicker? I better go now and see who has his hand on the switch. Thank you for listening to the Silver Nitrate Witches movie review brew. I'm Laura Valenza. You can find me at LJ Valenza and my co-Silver Nitrate Witch Isabelle Lang at BelleLang303. Thank you to Fine Motor for the use of their song Highway Moon. You can learn more about the band at finemotormusic.com. Stay witchy and keep watching movies. It's a great way to light up the dark.